Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Arsenal Football Club is facing a fascinating paradox this season. On one hand, they've just put on an impressive display, defeating Sporting Lisbon 5-1 in what many would call a dominant performance. With 8 goals in just 2 games, it's hard to argue that the team isn't capable of putting the ball in the back of the net when they're firing on all cylinders. But as the Premier League campaign unfolds, it's becoming increasingly clear that Arsenal's offensive consistency is still a major talking point, with many fans and pundits questioning whether the club needs to invest in a striker to keep up with the league's best. Looking at the stats, Arsenal has scored fewer goals, conceded more, and won fewer matches compared to the same point last season. This is despite a squad that's relatively unchanged from the previous campaign, with the team still featuring some of the top performers from last year. So, what's going wrong? It's not as if the team has been plagued by an unreasonable amount of injuries or suspensions. Other clubs are dealing with similar setbacks. Yet, there's a noticeable 9-point gap between Arsenal and Premier League leaders Liverpool, a far cry from last season, where only 2 points separated the top 3 teams after 12 games. So, what's causing this dip in form? The answer seems to lie, in part, in Arsenal's attacking setup. While the recent goal-scoring run has eased some pressure, the question of whether Arsenal needs a traditional No.9 striker remains very much alive. Of course, this issue becomes more glaring when the team struggles to convert chances. When the goals are flowing, however, the calls for a striker feel less urgent. Arsenal's recent big wins, including a resounding victory over Sporting Lisbon, suggest that the issue of scoring is not entirely critical, but the long-term trend of fewer goals and more conceded does raise concerns. And as the pressure mounts throughout the season, there's no denying that the question of whether Arsenal has the right personnel up front will continue to be a topic of discussion. In this context, it's worth noting the contributions of Kai Havertz, who has been deployed in an advanced role for much of the season. The German international has taken on the responsibility of leading the line for the Gunners, and in my view, he's done a commendable job, even if he's not a traditional striker. His intelligence, link-up play, and technical ability offer something different to Arsenal's attacking setup, and he's shown he can be effective in the final third. However, I personally believe that Arsenal missed an opportunity in the summer to bolster their attack with a top-class left winger, rather than focusing solely on a centre-forward. Havertz has proven his worth in an advanced position, and his versatility means he can provide a different dimension to the team's attacking options. That said, one area where Arsenal still struggles is in the supply chain to their forwards. While Havertz has been able to create opportunities for others, there is still a significant need for creativity and playmaking from wide areas to fully unlock Arsenal's attacking potential. The club's overall lack of a consistent, high-quality delivery system into the box has meant that even when they do create chances, they aren't always converted as effectively as they could be. This issue is still present, and it remains to be seen whether the club will address it in the upcoming transfer window. At the moment, it seems unlikely that any major moves will be made in January, though, with the recent departure of Ayto as sporting director, Arsenal have brought in Ayto, a highly respected figure in the world of football recruitment, who looks set to play a pivotal role in the club's future transfer dealings. One thing is clear, though, Arsenal's focus will likely remain on strengthening the squad for the long term rather than making a panic buy. Historically, Arsenal have preferred to operate in the summer transfer window, rather than rushing into reactive moves in January. The winter window often results in overpriced players or short-term solutions, and the club is not likely to follow this route unless absolutely necessary. Despite this, there is still significant interest from Arsenal in acquiring a striker, and while a move in January seems unlikely, it remains a possibility for the future. Looking back at the summer transfer window, Arsenal were particularly interested in Benjamin Sesko, the highly rated RB Leipzig forward. There was widespread speculation that Arsenal would secure his signature, with many predicting that the 20-year-old Slovenian would be the ideal addition to their squad. However, the deal ultimately fell through for a couple of reasons. Firstly, RB Leipzig reportedly pushed for a higher transfer fee than Arsenal were willing to pay, and secondly, Sesko himself preferred to move to a club where he could make an immediate impact, rather than being eased into the team gradually. In the end, Arsenal's decision to prioritize a gradual integration of young talent, with Havertz playing a central role, meant they didn't follow through with the deal. That decision, while understandable at the time, still leaves Arsenal in a position where they are contemplating whether to pursue a striker in the near future. The interest in Sesko is still there, but it's not clear whether Arsenal will return for him, particularly as the focus remains on finding the right striker to complement the team's overall strategy. Arsenal have also been keeping an eye on Viktor Gyokeres, the striker for Sporting Lisbon, but his performance against Arsenal in the recent 5-1 win didn't exactly set the world alight. It's still early days, but Gyokeres remains an option for the club, even though the likes of Liverpool and other European giants are also monitoring his progress. When it comes to high-profile strikers, one name that has been widely speculated in the media is Alexander Isak of Newcastle United. However, Arsenal are unlikely to engage in a bidding war for the Swedish striker, especially with reports suggesting that Newcastle would demand a hefty £120 million for his services. While Arsenal did scout Isak prior to his move to Newcastle, the idea of spending such a vast sum on a player they could have signed for far less only a couple of years ago is a tough sell, especially given the club's emphasis on value for money. Arsenal are not in the business of overpaying for players, and while Isak is undoubtedly a talented forward, the asking price seems far too steep for what Arsenal are willing to pay at this stage. In the end, Arsenal's transfer strategy will likely continue to be one of careful planning and strategic signings, rather than knee-jerk reactions to immediate needs. While the club has identified areas of improvement, particularly in the attacking third, they are unlikely to make any panic buys in January. Instead, Arsenal will look to build on their long-term plans, reinforcing their squad when the right opportunities arise. The club's hierarchy, including the new sporting director Jason Ayto, will likely continue to prioritize shrewd, long-term investments rather than impulsive signings. Only time will tell if Arsenal's patience will pay off, but one thing is certain: they are not prepared to compromise their vision just for the sake of making a big money transfer. That's the end of this video. If you liked the video, please make sure to subscribe the channel for more upcoming videos.